Is Oklahoma bad? Is Oregon any good? Is Alabama overrated? We're going to talk about all of these things tonight, but I want to get started with this. I'm taking a look at my top 25, and I'm taking a look at the Associated Press top 25. And for the most part, we got the same teams in there. We feel that those 10 teams are pretty damn good, right? We will differ slightly on Texas, Ohio State. We'll differ slightly on Alabama and Tennessee. But for the most part, we believe that the SEC has the best conference in football, and you can see that reflected in the AP. I believe it's 7 of the top 8, right? Which is also going to underscore just how we're able to talk about the college football playoff and who gets into it, especially in that 5 to 12 range. Remember, 5 to 12 are all at-large bids, and 5 through 8 get to host home games. And this is the year in which I think everybody should want to host a home game. As a matter of fact, I would have loved to have seen the College Football Playoff Selection Committee allow any of those teams in the top 4 the opportunity to either have the bye week or to host the home game. And I think that would have been fun. You know, even if they wanted to have the bye week and then host the home game instead of playing in the bowl game, that would have been fun. I mean, Georgia would like nothing more than to play a playoff game at Sanford, but given that they are the favorite to win the SEC championship game, their last game of the regular season will be their last game at Sanford, and I think we're penalizing teams for being good at that stage, and we are rewarding teams for not being that good at that stage. I would like to see that changed. However, it does not take away from the fact that Georgia is top of the pile. Ohio State, I feel, is right there. Texas has the better win than Ohio State, and that's why we're talking about Texas and Ohio State in that spot flipping. Texas went on the road against what was a top 10 team in Michigan, even if they were overrated for the time being, and they spanked Michigan. They walked into the big house, and they said, this is my house. I live here now. You pay the rent, but I live here. You know what I mean? Where it's, can I stay tonight in the next 6 weeks? That's what Texas just did to Michigan. Showed up at the big house, and I saw the student section was empty by the fourth quarter. They had had enough over there, dog. Turns out it is really difficult for Michigan to play good football teams this season. On the one hand, yeah, we can make the Connor Stallion jokes, and we will continue to make the Connor Stallion jokes. On the other hand, I don't think that Michigan knowing the plays would have helped them against Texas. It was just a better football team up and down. Nothing that Michigan did was able to upset the machine that was Texas on Saturday. And Texas did not have to hide a damn thing from them defensively or offensively. They just knew across the board they had them dead to rights because they have a Quinn Ewers. And you don't have a quarterback. They expected Davis Warren to be Baker Mayfield. And I'm telling y'all, there ain't but one Baker Mayfield. They really messed up their quarterback evaluation because they thought that Alex Orji was going to win this going away, have this sorted out by the spring. And when he did not, you have missed on your quarterback evaluation. And now you sorry. Tennessee hit on their quarterback evaluation. Nico Iamaleava is that dude. He has entered the Heisman Trophy conversation. They are a great football team. Jalen Milroe showed himself to be a great football player last year, even if Alabama, I don't think they're not the number 4 team in the country right now, but you hit on your quarterback evaluation. The same thing is true of Ohio State. As much as Ohio State fans still kind of got the jury out on Will Howard as they've only played Akron and Western Michigan, you understand now that Will Howard is the guy, and he's good enough to do the job. They hit on their quarterback evaluation. Carson Beck, another example of Georgia hitting on its quarterback evaluation. Go down the line, Brady Cook at Missouri. That's a hit for Eli Drinkwitz. They're going to face a real college football team for the first time this weekend against Boston College after playing against Class 5A competition for the first couple of weeks. That said, holding teams to 0 goes in Corey Batoon's good bucket, okay? They're number 1 in scoring defense. Again, it's Buffalo, and it's Murray State, but I still think that goose eggs are goose eggs. Ole Miss hit on their quarterback evaluation. Jackson Dart is one of the better quarterbacks in the entire sport. You know, you keep going down the list on this. In my top 10, in their top 10, every one of these quarterbacks is good. And if you missed on your quarterback evaluation, you have probably taken a loss, and embarrassingly so in some cases. Michigan, I mentioned, right? Clemson is another team that missed on its quarterback evaluation not once but twice, and they're having to pay for it. We're still trying to figure out what to do with Notre Dame. I have them in the top 25, but mostly because it's really difficult to drop a team from number 5 or number 6 out of the top 25, but they'll get that opportunity this weekend when they play Purdue, because Purdue's got to be looking at what Northern Illinois did and say, oh, we can do that. And we're at home. We're at West Lafayette. Yeah, we could do that. Avery Johnson at Kansas State is an example of Kansas State hitting on their quarterback evaluation. Utah at Cam Rising, an example of hitting on your quarterback evaluation. If your transfer quarterback has not been any good, you've known about it. Graham Mertz at Florida, if he has been good, you've also known about it. Cam Ward at Miami. If he's been bad, again, you've known about it. DJ Uiagalelei at Florida State. Talk a bit about them here in a bit, but I wanted to get started with this because I keep trying to tell folks it's not just that quarterback is the most important position in sports, let alone football. It's that having a great quarterback is the difference between playing on national television in October and November and not at all, right? For instance, Tulane seems to have hit on its quarterback. That is one Darren Mensah, who went for 218 in the first half against Kansas State, went for 342 in the game. They lost the game 34-27, and now that man is getting ready to head to Norman to try to give Oklahoma the what for and the how now. But that is an example of hitting on your quarterback evaluation, right? Same thing with Bill O'Brien. He looks at Thomas Castellanos and says, I know what I have here. I have a guy that can run it, and after his first read, I'll just let him go. And because he's been able to do that, he was able to beat Florida State, and they're ranked at Boston College. Syracuse, another example of hitting on your quarterback evaluation. I have them in the top 25. They didn't make it in the AP, but that's because, well, the AP is late. Kyle McCord has thrown for 350-plus in back-to-back games in wins against Ohio and a ranked Georgia Tech. Okay? That counts for something. Tight end Oronde Gadsden might win the Mackey Award this year. He is that dude at Syracuse, and Syracuse is basking in just not being crappy in football. I understand. It's Syracuse, but I'm going to reward them for not being crappy in football. I always enjoy it when teams decide that they want a good football team, right? Illinois making the top 20, Northern Illinois making the top 25 after beating Notre Dame on the road. I think that's a really great trophy that they get to hold up, and Thomas Hammock might mess around and be a Power 5 head coach next year. I wanted to start with that conversation about what quarterbacks mean and what hitting on your quarterback evaluation will mean for you, because I'm looking at Oklahoma, and I've had to ask the question, is my team bad? Is my team bad? I did not expect to have to ask that question in 2024. I really did not. I understand that there are folks that believe that it's funny that Oklahoma was struggling against Houston, but I assure you the folks from Oklahoma don't think it's funny at all. In fact, we were rather pissed about it, okay? Because over the last 40 minutes of Oklahoma having played football, let me tell you what the drive chart looked like. Punt. Punt. Oh, punt. Interception. Punt. Missed the field goal. Punt. Punt. Brent Venables said we have to get a whole heck of a lot better quickly. Yeah, dog. You can lay that one on just a little bit thicker if you wanted to. And it keeps going deeper. He says, we deserve to lose because we did everything you can possibly do to give someone a chance to win. That's what Oklahoma State did against Arkansas, but it hits different for Oklahoma because that's the pro team. That's the pro team. Okay? The thing that I do believe is working for Oklahoma is the defense. And I think that is directly affected by Brent Venables being head coach. I really do. When Oklahoma needed to go secure the victory against Houston, it wasn't the offense that could just simply run out the clock up 14-12. It was the defense coming up with a safety to get us the ball back. Like, forget the 2 points. Just get the ball back. Because the thing about, if you play EA Sports College Football 25, this drives you crazy. But if you've given up a safety, you simply have to punt the ball back. You can't squib kick it. You can't do what I do, which is kick it short and make somebody who is running with their two deeps instead of their vertical deeps run up and try to field that ball. You can't do none of that. You have to punt the ball back. That is exactly what Houston was made to do. You have to kick us the ball. And then Oklahoma got to sit on it. But we should not have had to worry about a Houston team that's not even any good. They lost to UNLV 27-7. On the one hand, you look at Oklahoma, you're going, you're giving up 3 points against Temple. Temple, sorry. And you're giving up 12 points against Houston. Houston, sorry. These are not indicative of the kind of teams that we're going to play come SEC competition. You heard me say at the top of this that the SEC's got 7 of the top 8 in the AP top 25. You've heard me wax poetic about what this league is and what the rest of the country is not. And now I got to ask, what is it that has changed about Jackson Arnold from Arizona, which was a loss, but he played well in it, and you saw some flashes of what he could do. He has a live arm. He is a fast runner. He has the tools to be great. What's changed? A lot of folks are going to point to the play calling, and I'm not going to say that Seth Luttrell is blameless in this by any stretch. It's his offense. They are running it. And I love that there are folks that are unfamiliar with Seth Luttrell being a fullback back in the day at Oklahoma, understanding what it means to be the play caller at Oklahoma. He gets the weight of this. But there are folks that are going, this ain't North Texas. I don't know, dog. When he was calling plays for Mason Fine, North Texas was good. And as much as I love Mason Fine, and I do, Jackson Arnold is 3 times the player that Mason Fine is from a talent standpoint. It's just you got to get him to execute like Mason Fine. And that's not hard, not easy to do. So on the one hand, yeah, you change the coordinator up. But one of the reasons that Jackson Arnold chose not to go into the transfer portal is because he's so very close with one Seth Luttrell. Matter of fact, there's a glowing feature in the Oklahoman about the relationship that Seth Luttrell and Jackson Arnold shared. As a matter of fact, after the game against Arizona, when Seth Luttrell was calling that game, people forget Jeff Levy wasn't calling that game. It was Seth Luttrell who was in tears talking to Jackson Arnold's mama going, I couldn't help him. I was doing my best to help him, and I couldn't help him when he's throwing these picks. Very, very close relationship. And Seth got to really get to know Jackson as an analyst, soaking it all in, being in that quarterback's room. I think that relationship can pay dividends. The reason I think that relationship can pay dividends is I've never seen a play caller and a quarterback who didn't have a brotherly relationship that did great things. Like the way that Lincoln Riley talks about his quarterbacks and the way that he treats them is like little brothers. It is, what do you like running and why you like running it? It is, I trust you with the offense. If you tell me it's going to go work, it will go work. It is exactly the kind of coach that I love to play for. My favorite producers are always the ones that say, okay, what do you feel good about? What do you like? What do you want to go with? You want to go with that? Cool. And then they will trust me to carry the segment. They will trust me to run the offense as I see fit. As a matter of fact, I got this from Mike Leach, who, again, coached at Oklahoma. But you'll understand what I'm saying here. Mike Leach had Connor Halliday at Wazoo. And at one point during the game, Mike Leach sent in a formation. That's it. Sent in a formation. Didn't send in a play call. And Connor, again, we're getting signs in this when there's no headset to helmet. He called a timeout. And Mike was livid on the sideline. Just pissed, angry, stomping up and down. And Connor was like, but you didn't give me the play. To which Mike said, you're the quarterback. You see it. Call the damn play. And that's what I want as a quarterback. Give me the freedom to go work. I'm out here laying it out. I see it. I'm watching it. Please allow me to run the offense. Trust me with this. I don't know that Jackson Arnold has got there with Seth Luttrell, but he needs to. It's past time for you to be trying to orchestrate what Jackson Arnold may or may not see. You need to ask Jackson Arnold, what is it that he does see, and then let him go execute. And if that's zone read, run zone read. Okay? If that's bubble screens, run bubble screens. If that's all goes, if that is mesh, if that's smash, whatever it is, find it. Run it. Because this offensive line that Oklahoma got is going to get him killed. We're not good. We're not good on the offensive line. Like, if you are watching tape, like I went back and I watched Houston without my eyes turning red, without seeing angry everywhere. And I said, oh no. Okay, so Jake Taylor still growing up. He a liability at right tackle right now. It's not great. It wasn't great. It was not great. And you're going to see better ends in the SEC. So you got to get that figured out. And we got a hole at center. So we're playing with 3 of 5, right? We're already down. And to Bill Beatonbow's credit, I think that this team is, this offensive line is going to become better because they usually do with him. He knows what he has and he knows how to work it. And he knows how to coach. I think for us, though, as Oklahoma fans, We only got one more game to try to get it right. And by the way, it ain't a given that we gonna beat Tulane. That ain't a given. No, because while the offensive line is still trying to figure it out, the defense is gonna have to hold up in ways that we haven't seen an Oklahoma defense hold up probably 13, 14 years. It's been a while. Okay, it's been so long that Oklahoma was leading the change to scoring a bunch of points on people, and that becoming the Big 12's identity. Pass-happy offenses, scoring 40 a game. Then, the Lincoln Riley era and whatnot. But anybody that's been an Oklahoma fan knows that when we are championship ready, and by that I mean national championship ready, the defense has always carried the Sooners. And that's one of the reasons that Brent Venables was the guy that I wanted from the day that Lincoln jumped out the door to now. Like, I don't think this is Venables. I really don't. And I'm not prepared to throw this at Venables because he wants it as bad as I do. And it's been very rare that I get to say that about any head coach. Too often, these coaches, they make millions of dollars and it makes you comfortable. It couldn't help. It can't help but make you comfortable. You have no more worries. You have generational wealth. All you got to do is throw that into a mildly performing hedge fund and you ain't got to worry about nothing else. So what do you have to drive you? Well, Brent knows what it means to be the head football coach at Oklahoma. And it doesn't mean you stand alone. It means you're the head football coach with 3 million other people. We're all head football coaches out here. We all got our opinions about what this program should or should not be doing. I think having that guy who is that severe is exactly what we need. And at this moment, I'm telling y'all, the Brent Venables I know is tearing into everybody in the building. Everybody in the building is going to be asked to level up in a real way. From the folks serving in the cafeteria all the way up to the play callers. Everybody's going to be asked to level up. Hell, he might ask fans to level up. And it wasn't like we didn't show out. That was the other thing. It was a sold-out crowd for that Houston game at night. And Oklahoma was fortunate to win it 16-12. The last time that Oklahoma won a home game 16 to whatever, West Virginia, 2021. We were booing Spencer Rattler off the field. Later that year, Lincoln Riley bolts to USC. And then we get where we're currently at in the timeline, right? With Brent Venables coming over. It's not a great omen. Especially when you know that Tulane is loaded up. And they're bringing not just Darren Mensah with them, but Mekhi Hughes, who went for 128 yards on the ground against Kansas State. And Mario Williams is making his return to Oklahoma. There are those that forgot about that. And that man can absolutely take the top off the defense. I didn't feel good about what I saw from Woody Washington in his return. Didn't feel great about that. Not at all. We were picking up some stupid penalties. I didn't know that our back end could be so exposed against things underneath. Donovan Smith was just dinking and dumping. And if not for a botched punt return, do we get to win that football game? To Brent's understanding, no, we don't. I don't think that Oklahoma is bad, but we ain't good. We ain't good. We are a top 25 team because that's what the brand is. It's kind of like Michigan being top 10. It's like Florida State being top 10. We're going to have to lose games to lose that. But it don't feel good right now as Oklahoma is on the cusp of its first SEC season in one of the most loaded years for the SEC in the college football playoff era. It is going to be carnage up and down that thing. I mean, to put a button on this, it's not just that the SEC has 7 of the top 8. It's that Vanderbilt is winning football games this year, guys, against Power 4 opponents. There isn't a bad football team in the SEC anymore. It used to be Vanderbilt. And as much as people want to throw shade at Mississippi State, did you know the state of Mississippi has more NFL players per capita than any other in the union? And it is the poorest state in the union? You got dudes there. You got dudes coming out of, man, some of y'all need to go down to South Panola. Some of y'all need to go down to Hattiesburg High. Some of y'all need to figure out what it means to play high school football in the state of Mississippi. It ain't easy. It's hard as hell. And I always wondered how you, at Starkville, just don't go get what's left. If you just got what was left out of the state of Mississippi, Bulldogs, they'd be a monster. And I think Zach Selman knows that. I think Jeff Lebby's going to try to recruit that. We'll see. But there's a reason why Ole Miss is a top 10 team. Like, I know they go into the transfer portal, but they are still in Oxford, which is, by the way, the flagship university in the state of Mississippi, and there's a reason why they're good. Want to acknowledge everybody in the chat. Thanks for showing up. I know we're doing this live. I appreciate y'all jumping on. Sometimes the stream can get out of sync, and I understand that part. It's not really in my control. I mean, I got a gig up and a gig down from here, so it might be on YouTube's end. I don't think it's on mine. Like we in 4K out here. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but this show is committed to giving you 4K video. 4K not just in the uploads on your video on demand, but in this live stream. So if you have 4K on the television or on your phone, right, on your laptop, it is here for you. I don't know that everybody else treats y'all that well. I'm just going to point that out. I love y'all, all 104,000 of you. If you like the channel, please subscribe to it. It means the world to me. I mean, the next goal for us is 150, which feels ridiculous. Ridiculous. 100,000 feels ridiculous. And I got the notification from YouTube that we qualified for the play button, and I got to tell y'all, dog, like, I might put that in front of my face. Like, that's national championship trophy coming to the house. You know what I'm saying? Like, we fired all the way up about this. We really are. You know, it's been a long time that I've been doing this show, and we don't cut corners on the show. This is what you get. It is me talking to you. You know what I'm saying? It is absolutely, positively one of the coolest things that I've seen, right? Who's that? Paxton, I appreciate you. I went on 365. I'm doing shows all the what now, and I try to be a good house guest. Like, that's what I was telling David Smoke, who runs that show. I just try to be a good house guest in somebody else's house. That's the least you can do as a host, right? It's hard enough to get guests to come on other people's shows. Booking is awful, and I realize that that's not y'all deal. Like, y'all don't care. Get who you get. You know what I'm saying? If we think they're worthwhile, we'll talk to them. But being a good house guest is the least you can do, right? So I try to be a good house guest whenever I do radio and whenever I'm fortunate enough to do television. So I'm looking at this slate of games this week, and I got to tell y'all, it ain't great. Now, come late October, early November, we got all bangers. Like, it's going to be fun. It is going to be one hell of a 6-week stretch all the way into the college football playoff, and then we get 4 weeks, a month of postseason football. But until then, we got to deal with things like week 3. And things like week 3 really got us in a bad way, dog. Like, we're not feeling great about this one. We got Memphis at Florida State, which I think is going to be a hell of a lot of fun because we're looking at Florida State that could be 0-3 by the end of that because Memphis really, really, really wants to win that game. And quietly, don't say this too loud, that's a money in the bag candidate, dog. And that's on par with NIU. I'm not going to give you the figure right now, but I got to tell you, it's 7 figures. And Memphis is undefeated. And Memphis is my pick to represent the Group of 5 in the college football playoff. And Memphis knows that Mike Norvell left them to go to Florida State, and the guy that replaced him was his defensive coordinator, and Ryan Silverfield, he's still there. I've been up to Memphis. I've been up to Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. I got to tell y'all, Memphis wants it. Memphis loves their football team, and they do not operate like a Group of 5 football team. Those of you that don't know, Memphis got $25 million from FedEx just for NIL. That's it. Just to pay players, because that's how much Fred Smith and them want Memphis to be great. I'm telling y'all, man, I am excited. I am over the moon about this game because it is hell or high water day for Florida State. They are up against it. There's a lot of people playing for their futures. There's a lot of coaches coaching for their futures for the rest of the season, but particularly in this game, you go 0-3. You lose to Georgia Tech, you lose to Boston College, you lose to Memphis at Florida State. Ain't no telling what's going to be waiting for you on the other side, baby. And you got to get a SMU that's also got their back against the wall if they're losing to BYU on Friday. DJ Uiagalelei need to get on the good foot. That's one thing, right? And we talked a bunch about DJ, and we will continue to talk a bunch about DJ. But it's that defensive line that needs to figure it out quick, fast, and in a hurry. They are 124th in the country against the run going into last weekend. And they paid that defensive line $2 million. Does the Florida State NIL collective believe it's getting its money worth? I think not. I don't think they do. I really don't think they do. I think that they're in a spot. So we're going to find out. But I think Seth Hennigan can sling it. I know Rock Taylor was good. Woo! I'm excited. I really am. I'm excited about that game. And that's not a ranked matchup, right? The ranked matchups, there are two that we got to worry about. One is on Friday night. Number 20, Arizona at Kansas State. Number 14, Kansas State. Look, I thought it was cheeky. I got an email from the Big 12. They sent it out the press release. And they told me that Arizona has the longest active winning streak in the country. And I'm like, at 9 games? And then I remember Georgia lost the SEC championship game. I'm like, oh, okay. All right, I got it. I wouldn't go around telling people that, though, because you was in a dogfight against Northern Arizona. Northern Arizona looked like putting money in the bag there for a little while till you pulled it out late. But they gave you everything you wanted. There's a reason why Kansas State, I believe, is an 8.5-point favorite in this one, dog. It don't feel good if you're Arizona right now. It feels like Avery Johnson and that 4.3 speed might give you the 4.5 now. DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards. Do you realize that with Avery Johnson and DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards, you got one of the fastest backfields in the country? And then you got a defense that will bend, but it hasn't broken. I think Matt Wells is doing a great job. I'm excited about that one, mostly because it's a ranked matchup, but it is the first real picture of the new Big 12, right? A 16-team league that feels good from top to bottom, and we're about to see some shaking and some separation for the first time in the Big 12 because we're getting conference games, right? Iowa State got a big win against Iowa. That's great. Love that for them. We're seeing Oklahoma State. They tried to give the game away to Arkansas, or I should say Arkansas gave the game to them, but they're undefeated, right? Utah with Cam Rising feels like the kind that can contend for a conference championship, and I mentioned Arizona, Kansas State already. We'll see. Another game on the schedule we got to take a look at, Boston College at Missouri. I didn't know nobody knew going into this one that Boston College was going to be ranked in the top 25 by week 3. But that's what we got. Thank you, Florida State. Appreciate you. You did that. Because who else did Boston College beat this year? Duquesne. Who is Duquesne? You know what I'm saying? But now, Missouri, number 6 in the country, they get to play a real football team. Congratulations. I will stop making jokes about you only playing Class 5A competition if you get the win. But if you lose to BC, I am going to be on your head. And you know what? It's not just going to be me. It's going to be everybody. We all going to be on your head. Because we don't believe that anybody from Missouri, the show me state, should be showing me a loss to the Jesuits when they come through. Shouldn't be doing that. Not in Bill O'Brien's year 1. No. What have they done? What has BC done? RJ's like, excuse me. They're saying RJ is like, did he forget about Matt Ryan? You mean who retired? That Matt Ryan? Has it been that long? You know what I'm saying? A couple years ago, they had a really outstanding tailback that I loved. But since then, I haven't really had much to say about BC. Who has? You know, like I did All Facts, No Breaks. That's Keyshawn Johnson's podcast last week. And one of the things that I really enjoyed getting into it was he remembered that USC went up there as number 9 team to BC, and they took an L. But that's as far back as it goes. You got to go back to 2014, the last time they had a top 10 win, and they got that top 10 win against Florida State because we just didn't put out an AP poll between week 0 and the end of week 2. You know what I'm saying? Like, the end of Labor Day. It just didn't go that way. And I was getting a kick out of it. I really was. Because we were having to reach back into our bag of goodies, bag of tricks to talk about Zay Flowers. You know what I'm saying? Like, BC ain't been nobody. Meanwhile, all anybody has done is say nice things about Missouri. Luther Burden, he good. Brady Cook, it's Jake Fromm. Straight Fromm. Marcus Carroll can go. And you know what? Again, the defense, they look legit. They look all right. But they going to we ain't got no choice but to watch Missouri and BC. That's how booty the games are this weekend. That is one of 2 ranked matchups this week. That's it. Kansas State, Arizona Friday, and then early morning, Missouri, BC. Other than that, we got number 4, Alabama at Wisconsin. I don't think Alabama that good, y'all. I really don't. They're a top 10 team, but they're not the number 4 team. That's Tennessee. Tennessee, it's not just that Nico Iamaleava. See, I did it again. Nico Iamaleava. Where am I getting tongue-tied with this? Iamaleava. I'm thinking about it. I'm not just throwing what I say. I'm not just throwing it when it's open. I'm thinking about steering it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just need to let that thing go. Iamaleava. It ain't just him. It ain't just Squirrel White. It ain't just Brew McCoy when, Brew McCoy being Brew McCoy. Man, that dude is really hard to pin down. Like, sidebar to the Tennessee conversation right quick. Brew McCoy coming out of Mater Day was that dude. Nick Saban wanted him to play outside linebacker at Bama, wanted to be a pass rusher because he went both ways at Mater Day. He would pass rush on third down, play wide receiver, but he wanted to be a wide receiver. Commits to Texas, and then USC, or vice versa. Anyway, ends up at Tennessee. And it seems to be all right. But I'm like, shouldn't you be in the NFL by now? Wasn't that always supposed to be the plan? Why are you still at Tennessee? Well, maybe he's still at Tennessee because they're going to win an SEC championship. Because that's the only other team outside of Texas and Georgia right now. And I take that back. Ole Miss. That I can see contending for the SEC championship right now. Tennessee feels really good. But that's the offense. The reason they feel like the number 4 team in the country to me is the defense. Tim Banks has those boys hunting. James Pierce is a menace coming off the edge, right? And this is before I talk about Dylan Sampson and what he's been able to provide from the offensive side. But you get my point here. You need to be a complete football team. And there's nothing complete about Alabama right now. People are going, hey, RJ, didn't they win 42-16? Did you watch the football game? Did you watch it? Because I watched it. That's what I do. I watch football. It was 14-13 until the fourth quarter. And it looked for all the world like Alabama was trying to give this game away on Nick Saban's name day. This is the day that they announced the renaming of the field to Nick Saban Field. To which Nick Saban had to be like, y'all getting ready to have to play in the parking lot after this. You not good enough to play on my football field. Because that's how it had to feel. And then leave it to the true freshman, Ryan Williams, to back break, take the lid off, and then Jam Miller gets to going. But until then, you could see Caleb Downs at Ohio State, Travaris Robertson, he at Georgia. You know what I'm saying? You could see all of this. They got some work to do. They have to convince me. And you need to start by stomping a mud hole in Wisconsin and walking it dry. If you can't get that done, I'm really going to have reservations about what you'll be able to do against Georgia in a couple of weeks. I just don't see it. But, it's Wisconsin. Midfield pack for the Big Ten. You ought to be able to do this on the road. Make it happen. One other game I need to talk about before we get up out of here is, 2 games actually. Number 9, Oregon at Oregon State. I was asked, hey, RJ, how are you going to not move Oklahoma after struggling against Houston, but you're going to drop Oregon after struggling to Boise State? And I said, did you hear the words that are coming out of your mouth? Struggling to who? Like, Oregon, to start this year, was supposed to be one of the 3 best teams in college football. Full stop. Period. 4 at worst. But right there, contending for the Big Ten championship. That's what we think about Oregon. Dylan Gabriel, Evan Stewart, Tez Johnson, another Uwe Ungalale, right? And Mateo, Jordan Birch, Noah Whittington. I can keep going on this. But that ain't what we got. What we got is y'all damn near losing to the state of Idaho. Now, granted, there isn't a large sample size, but I don't recall Oklahoma getting a hard time against the entire state of Idaho. Like, yeah, all right, Fiesta Bowl, Boise State, cool, whatever, got it. But the whole state? Like, Idaho State's got to be like, damn, can we get on Oregon's schedule right quick? They might be able to finish what Idaho and Boise State couldn't. And they can't stop the run, man. Ashton Jeanty went for 192. All right, that's one thing. Assume that Ashton Jeanty is the Doak Walker Award winner. Assume that Ashton Jeanty is the first running back off the board. Tell me why you couldn't score. Tell me why Oregon is having a hard time running it up. That is what we've come to know from Oregon, not just in the Mark Helfrich era or the Chip Kelly era, but also the Dan Lanning era. You run it up against bad football teams. You ain't run nothing up so far. You needed a walk-off field goal against Boise State at home. You were in a 17-14 game against the Idaho Vandals at home. This close to being vandalized. This close. Now you got Oregon State, and you got to go up to Corvallis for that game. But as much as I want to give Oregon State a shot in that, I can't. But then again, I can't give Boise State a shot. I couldn't give Idaho a shot. I need to see something from Oregon. I need to see that y'all about this, because right now, USC is the second best team in all of college, of the Big Ten. You know what I'm saying? They have the best win, beat a ranked LSU. Who has Penn State beat? West Virginia tried to lose to Bowling Green. Didn't, but tried to. Wisconsin? No. Iowa? They lost to Iowa State. Northwestern? Lost to Duke. You need me to keep going on a list on this? You know what I'm saying? We're still waiting on somebody. It could be Ohio State and USC in the Big Ten Championship. And I got to tell you, CBS ain't going to turn down nothing but its collar. Because that is star power there, baby. That's what you want. You know what I'm saying? While Michigan is being booty. Just booty. Michigan, it smell like 8-4 in here. Okay? Smell like 8-4 in here. Figure it out. Last game we got to talk about is Colorado State. Mostly because Colorado has picked to win this game. Okay? So they are not the dog. They were the dog against Nebraska. Colorado State is the dog at home. Colorado State got a quarterback in Braden Nicolosi Fowler and a wide receiver in Torrey Horton that could probably go. But it's a much more even match because I don't know that Colorado State can run the football. And one of the things that we do know about Colorado is they can't stop the run. And all of the news that is coming out of Colorado has been, for the most part, bad, and not in like a football way. We're all talking about the wrong stuff when it comes to Colorado. We are talking about a quarterback that left the game, that apparently didn't have an injury. He was done playing. Shiloh went down with an injury. It looks like he's going to be gone for a couple of weeks. Trevor Woods got bounced for an ejection. And we got tape of Shedeur Sanders going, how many times did Raiola get touched? This is a man who is responding to being sacked 6 times. And you know what? You're going to get sacked when we don't have to respect your run game, and you ain't gotten in. Remember, Pat Sherman was supposed to be the offensive coordinator because Sean Lewis's offense was not built around running the ball. It's built around the quarterback and getting rid of the ball early. Turns out, Pat Shermer is learning that offensive line, last year and this year, can't run the ball. And as much as people want to keep telling me, hey, RJ, Jordan Seaton is doing his job, let me pull you back all the way to the top when I'm talking about Oklahoma. Jacob Sexton is a great left guard. We're good there. But one offensive lineman is not the damn unit, and the damn unit can still get beat down. And that's what happened. The unit that is Colorado's offensive line got beat down. So I got an interesting question in the comments. Every now and again, y'all be coming up with some really great stuff. And that's one of the reasons I love doing this show. I love talking to you. I love hearing what you think. I love hearing what you think is important. And then we build a show around it. So the question was, when does Colorado become a parody of itself? To unpack that intellectually, right? Because it's easy to make a joke there. We have seen the non-conventional way, the unconventional way that Prime has built Colorado. Not just the transfer portal, but the coaching staff, to how he is communicating who gets to play and how he is communicating who gets to ask questions. It has really I've come to understand the thing to know about Colorado is that Colorado still thinks that it's great. So the cognitive dissonance between their arrogance and believing that they're going to be great and they haven't been, right? 4-8 last year, 1-1 this year, is going to lead to some sort of dissonance from the rest of us. Like it's going to be a conscious dissonance. Colorado looks like it can't find its way home right now. It looks like blind faith. You know what I'm saying? It looks like they're operating like they're Mobb Deep when they the shook ones. You know what I'm saying? They have this effect that feels like they want to be Jill Scott, like we hating on them, like Hate on Me, the song, but that's not it. If you were paying attention to me or you're paying attention to other people that will talk about Colorado, you can hear the difference. The difference is I am with a group of people that want Colorado to be good. I want Prime to succeed. And I have my own reasons for that. Most of them are personal. Most of them come back to the culture. Most of them come back to how I was raised and who I was raised by. So the criticism, and that's what it is, criticism is neither positive nor negative on its face. It is offering solutions and pointing out inconsistencies is warranted. You're losing football games. You're losing them in ways that we could predict. And you're losing them to a team that we predicted you to lose to. You just don't want to hear us because the cognitive dissonance is that far. Cognitive dissonance, what people believe versus what is true. Okay? I'm looking at this program, and it feels like they want to be T.I. in motivation, but you're not T.I. in motivation. You know what I'm saying? It looks like Colorado got 99 problems, but the Suns can't fix all of them. There are other guys that need to perform. Shadeur's great. We know this. Shiloh is good. We know this. Bucky is one of the best in my business. But that ain't enough to win football games. Other people got to perform for you. So it feels a lot like K-Dot in Humble. Talk about sit down, be humble, right? It's not even that we want people to be quiet. I love Prime. People that are close to me, they know this. It's that sometimes the best thing to do is to say nothing at all. Like, Shedeur didn't need to say what we all knew was true, right? That the offensive line that is blocking for him has been trash since the day he stepped foot on campus in Boulder. But hearing him say it is not something you can do. You are the quarterback. What that means is you are the guy. You are the person that everybody is looking for to make this okay. Because one of the things that I've also come to learn, and this comes back to letting me be a quarterback and letting me run the offense, is two things. You are not going to get the best out of me by screaming at me and yelling at me. You're just not. The reason that is I am always going to be harder on myself than anybody else. It's the way I know how to do it. I eat it, I grind it, all of it. So I feel it in the marrow. So anybody else telling me that I'm not that good is just going to catch hands. I mean, not physically, you know what I'm saying? But you going to get every bit of me. Because it ain't about whether or not I got that dog in me. I work for a living. You know how hard I worked just to get here, dog? Part-time jobs I had, I filed 13 1099s in 2019, dog. You know how many licenses I got to do stuff? Like, when people make jokes about it's time for DJ Ooh Younglil to get his CDL, I'm like, you talking about me now. You know? Move furniture for this, you know? Waited tables for this. And if you ain't got that in your background, you're not going to get a lot of respect from me. I got people that think that hard times is losing a football game. No, hard times is sleeping in my truck because I couldn't afford to pay rent. That's hard times. Hard times is wondering what I'm going to eat. Yeah, that was me too. I went from an efficiency department to this in the course of 3 years because I had to. I don't like doing it. Nobody likes doing it. Nobody loves the grind. If you are in love with the grind or you one of these people that say rise and grind, it's because you don't work for a living. I want to see dudes that work for a living in this sport. That's why I don't hold a grudge when the kids get paid. Go get your money. Get your bread. And protect your chicken. Because at the end of the day, that's what you got. That's what you got. I need you to put your do-rag on and let them waves cook instead of talking about how your waves are swimming. We can see it. You don't need to tell everybody how bad it is. We see it, and you got to trust us to see it. You got to trust people like me. People close to you. We know how hard what you're doing is. We know how difficult it must be to play quarterback in Colorado. But damn it, that's your team. That's your squad. You don't get to throw them under the bus. Not in front of people. You know, we got this thing in my family that I have taken to the grave, or I will take to the grave, excuse me. My mother used to tell me, and my mother is a retired captain in the Air Force. My father is a retired sergeant in the Air Force. That I don't care if your sister or you have committed the crime in front of people, you will be quiet and you will wait till you get home. You do not air dirty laundry out in front of folks. You don't do that. You know, you don't do that. You protect your family. It starts there. Whomever your family is, you protect them. And I got all this talk about brothers on football teams. That don't sound like what brothers do. Brothers don't go out there absolutely wrecking people. That's not what you do. You keep that to yourself and you bring it back to the locker room. You have a conversation, but outside, you are one front. You are united. There is no fracture. There cannot be any me. There has to be we everywhere we go. I want it to work for Colorado. But right now, it doesn't feel like it's gonna. And that sucks. That really sucks. All right. That is going to do it for tonight's live show. If you like it, please subscribe to the channel. We are 104,000 strong, and we are growing, and I would appreciate it if y'all would join the group, join the family, join the kinfolk. I mean, look here, man. 62% of the people that watch this show aren't subscribed to it. Is it you? That's what I'm asking. All right, guys. I will see y'all on the flip side. Deuces.